I would like to call the Polk County School Board to meeting for tonight, and I am going to ask Board Member Barbara Bowie, our Vice Chair, to give us our invitation.
Let us pray. Our Father, thank you for the privilege to pray. As we approach Veterans Day, thank you for those who sacrificed that we might have this and so many other privileges. We ask for your special blessings on all veterans and those they love. We pray for Polk County schools, asking that everyone involved be led by you and blessed by you. We ask blessings and directions on our elected officials and those in leadership and influential positions. Please guide this board. Let us only make decisions that are best for our students and staff. Though those mentioned are limited, we ask that your goodness spread around the whole world. We pray for individual and collective blessings and ask that our humble thank you be accepted. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for that awesome invitation. Next on the agenda is the chairman's report. And so I would like to recognize this time the loss of our two students. We have not been together as a board. So the loss of our two students, Mr. Alton Sebastian Tirado Martinez and Ms. Brittany Carolina Nunez Ramirez. And on that same note, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize the passing of our beloved Sheriff Hubert Peterkin, and his passing. They passed in October. And in recognition, I would just like to have a moment of silence. Thank you. Amen. On a different note, I would like to offer congratulations to our new Polk County Sheriff, who was sworn in on Friday, November the 5th. And the ceremony, I believe, was at the Robert A. Wright Agriculture Building. And so we offer congratulations to Sheriff Roderick C. Virgils. I was not able to attend. I'm going to yield to the other board members who did, if you want to have anything to say.
I attended, Ms. Pickett was there, and Barbara was there, I think, yeah,
Right.
the ones that I got to see, and had quite a few of the Polk County School family there.
Good.
And first they acknowledged Sheriff Peterkin.
Yes.
He would have big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
We love Sheriff Peterkin, but he'll do really good. He'll do great, and I got to whisper in his ears a little bit for the Polk County School families. That was my number one goal there, was to whisper in his ears to make sure we remember to look at us and take care of him. And we would be praying for him, his family, and the whole Polk County, the Sheriff's Department.
Good, good. Anyone else? Okay. So lastly, as a Green Ribbon School, Sandy Grove Middle School hosted a Green Stride tour. Representatives from the U.S. Department of Education and the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction toured Sandy Grove Middle School during the month of October. I believe it was October 20th. And they did this because in 2016, Sandy Grove Middle School was recognized as a Green Ribbon School. And at that time, during that time, Sandy Grove was the first net positive energy school, which means to me that they produced 60% more energy than the school actually consumed. So in essence, we are saving over the next decade millions of dollars. So that's a good thing. And so kudos to Sandy Grove Middle School. We were able to tour the cafeteria. Barbara don't want me to talk about the cafeteria so much because I'm not ever in the kitchen. But we know that the oven and all the things in the cafeteria, and Ms. Carpenter is here, does a lot of, to me, magic than the other cafeterias in our school system. And we were able to see robotics and all those different things. And again, the tour was awesome. I was very impressed. I'm sure that the US representatives was impressed, as well as the DPI and all the other guests that were there. So that was awesome to me. So now, next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I need a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Are there any questions? There being none, all in favor, aye. All opposed? The agenda for tonight has been approved. Next on the agenda is Spotlight on Success, and I will yield to our awesome Superintendent, Dr. Barbara Dallas.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. This evening, we do have 3 items for Spotlight on Success. Our first item is the recognition of a middle school conference golf champion, Miss Ashley Lee from Sandy Grove Middle School. And at this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Gary Brigman to share more information.
He's about the length of my driver.
Beautiful.
I'd like to call up Karen Coe also. She's the athletic director of Sandy Grove. And Ivan Street is the golf coach at McLaughlin. And Ivan worked with her as well as her grandfather. But we're also proud of her. She's shot a 73. And I got a co-worker that plays golf out there all the time. He has not come anywhere close to a 70. He's a great golfer. So, Mr. Iser, would you like to say a few words about her?
Yes, I would just like to commend this young lady on a great season. She's a wonderful young lady. I'm sorry, I won't say little girl, but, and I commend her grandfather also for all he's done to help her. And I would just like to add, she won the girls' championship, but she also beat the winning boy by 14 strokes. So, it's just a little team here. But anyway, I would just like to say congratulations to you. You did a great job. Thank you so much. Let's go.
And in the Hope County way, she's a great student.
Oh, yeah.
Student athlete.
Did she have, do you have something you want to say?
My team was really great. They were really nice. My grandpa was great in helping me get to where I am now. And so is my coach Ivan for supporting me, and so is Coach Co and everyone who, especially down the hall when I came in after a tournament that my teachers would help me up.
Okay, all right, so I have a Making the Great Hope County Schools, Ashley Lee Middle School Conference Golf Champion, Sandy Grove Middle School, presented by the Hope County Board of Education, November 9th, 2021, and congratulations, young lady.
Thank you.
We want, come on, Kirsten, Sarah. Gary said no. Gary said no? Come on, Gary.
Right person didn't ask.
I got plenty.
Okay.
All right. You want to take off our mask?
You can take it down for 2 seconds. Ready, 1, 2, big cheese. One more. All right, thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Our second item this evening is the recognition of our Southeastern Athletic Conference Soccer Defensive Player of the Year, Alton Sebastian Gerardo Martinez. As many of you know, Alton passed away a little over 2 weeks ago. Our condolences continue to be with his family, who are here tonight to accept on his behalf. So at this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Gary Brigman and Coach Colin McDavid.
Yes, it's very unfortunate that the death occurred. The meeting happened 3 days before the passing away of Alton, and he was named the Defensive Player of the Year award. As a lot of you may know, I think Dr. Dallas was out at the game the Monday after the news. We had an extraordinary crowd. Normally those Gator seats go to the conference, and the conference voted last week to move those Gator seats to the family, which I think is a really nice gesture by the folks that's surrounded and what they're thinking. It was really touching. We went to Chapel Hill, playing in the playoffs. 3 players came up and presented our team with some flowers. And I thought that was great. But that's the world we live in athletics. We don't think about each other. And so I'm gonna give this plaque to Coach McDavid and let him take over. And he's got some things to say. I'm gonna have him to present this to Alton's family. And we normally do this at the athletic banquet, but I have an athletic banquet this year. But I thought it'd be suitable to do it now.
Good evening to everyone. I'm going to go a little slow in that I'm going to read a couple things and say a couple things, and then Ms. Tyler will interpret it. Okay. So I'm honored to present the Defensive Player of the Year award to Elton Gerardo Martinez's family on his behalf.
Para él es un honor presentar el reconocimiento del jugador defensivo del año de la Conferencia Atlética del Sudeste.
A few of his teammates are here with me to help present the award. As you can see, we are all wearing him on our sleeves and in our hearts. His jersey number was number 6, sorry.
Como usted puede ver, aquí están también los jugadores del equipo de fútbol y todos ellos están usando la camisa con el número 8, que era el número de él. Lo llevan no solamente en la camisa, sino también en su corazón.
Before I present the award to Elton's family, I would like to say a few words about him to help you to understand why he received and was deserving of this award.
Antes de darle el reconocimiento a Alton, a él le gustaría decir unas palabras para que así las personas puedan entender por qué es necesario darle este reconocimiento a él, para que así tengan una idea del tipo de persona que él era.
Elton was an excellent student and soccer player. He was a true teammate and friend.
Alton era un, say that one more time.
Elton was an excellent student
Era un excelente estudiante
and football player.
y un jugador de fútbol.
Yeah. He was a true teammate and friend.
También era un verdadero compañero porque jugaba bien con los demás y era un verdadero amigo.
He was what we call a good student athlete.
Él era un buen estudiante y atleta.
Student primero, first.
Primero, un estudiante.
He maintained a 3.5 GPA.
Y mantuvo un grado de 3.5, que se considera alto.
And this was taking challenging courses.
So that one more time.
This was taking challenging courses, not easy
Y
courses.
eso es estando tomando clases que eran un poco difíciles, no eran clases fáciles.
He was respectful to his teachers
Era muy respetuoso de sus maestros
and also a joy to teach.
y también a él le daba mucho gusto enseñarle.
Elton was very passionate about soccer.
Él tenía una pasión por el fútbol.
He was a student of the game, which made him very coachable.
También era un estudiante que se dejaba enseñar.
He was primarily a defender for the Bucks,
Él jugaba la posición de defensa para el equipo de la high school,
but found ways to score.
pero de alguna u otra manera siempre metía goles.
He was famous along with number 8, Karnataka Bellinger, whenever we had corner kicks.
Él era famoso por sus tiros de esquina, igual que el número 8 aquí.
Yeah, they would go up and they had a little designed run.
Dice que entre los dos tenían algo diseñado para correr y así poder meter el gol.
Karnataka was the decoy,
Entonces él era el que más o menos como que entretenía a los demás
to allow ATM to score.
para que así Alton o ATM pudiera meter el gol.
Although he was not an official captain,
Aunque él no era un capitán oficial,
the boys saw him as one because of his leadership ability.
los muchachos lo consideraban o lo veían como el capitán por sus habilidades de liderazgo.
I remember early in the season, he was not happy with one of our older players.
Dice que al principio de la temporada él recuerda que Alton no estaba muy contento con uno de los jugadores que era mayor.
Specifically, that player was not treating his teammates the right way.
Y la razón era porque ese jugador no estaba tratando al resto de los jugadores como se debía de haber tratado.
And Ailton let him know right away, that is not the way you treat your teammates.
Y Alton rapidito le dejó saber que esa no es la forma en la que se trata a los compañeros.
Whenever he spoke, people listened.
Cuando él hablaba, las personas escuchaban.
Following are some achievements as a soccer player for Hope that
También él va a mencionar algunos de los cumplimientos que él obtuvo mientras fue estudiante aquí.
gold medal in the Summer State Games.
Medalla de honor en los Juegos Estatales durante un verano.
I will always remember ATM texted me to say,
Siempre recuerdo que ATM me escribía por texto y me decía,
Coach, we won the gold. We're bringing the gold home.
coach, ¿cómo se dice coach?
Profe.
Entrenador, queremos traer a casa la medalla de oro.
That's profe.
Profe es teacher.
Oh, okay. All right. But winning the gold was good, but the coaches there were very, they really were impressed with him and how he was coachable and respectful. That says a lot about his parents.
Dice que ganar la medalla de oro fue importante, pero el que el resto de los entrenadores vieran que él se dejaba enseñar también, muestra también el tipo de padres que ustedes son.
For this season, ATM was selected all conference.
Para esta temporada, ATM fue seleccionado para representar en esta conferencia o de la conferencia de este grupo.
All region,
También en la región.
and of course, the defensive player of the year.
Y también se le da el reconocimiento de jugador defensor.
Okay, I understand. His soccer achievements are great, but I believe that his character was more important.
Todo lo que él pudo completar o pudo hacer como jugador de fútbol son buenos, pero el tipo de persona que él era es aún mejor.
He had some younger teammates that looked up to him as a big brother.
Tenía otros jugadores de fútbol más jóvenes que lo miraban como un hermano mayor.
For example, Mando.
Por ejemplo, Mando.
Okay. Mando after practice to give him more practice.
Dice que se llevaba a Mando después de la práctica para darle más práctica.
He was a great role model.
Él era un estudiante que copiar. Buen modelo.
I said it before, but I'm going to repeat this. It's okay. Not that I condone fighting, but I have witnessed where ATM was a true fighting buck.
Dice, no es que yo condene el pelear, pero ATM, Alton, era realmente un peleador.
At Pinecrest, a fan came onto the field and disrespected our team.
Cuando jugaron en Pinecrest, que es otra high school, dice que un fan vino o entró en el campo de fútbol y le faltó el respeto a algunos de los jugadores.
Ailton was ready to fight for our honor.
Dice que Alton ya le quería dar también por faltarle el respeto.
The players have something to read, okay, before I give the award.
Antes de que le presenten el reconocimiento, el resto de los estudiantes tienen algo que les gustaría leerles. Entonces, antes de que se lo den, ellos lo van a leer en español y yo lo leo en inglés y ya entonces se lo dan. ¿Ok?
This is from Julio Antonelli. He couldn't be here, so he wanted me to say it.
Y este es de Julio González.
Alton siempre quería ser capitán, y él 100% tenía el talento de ser capitán. Todas las veces que Joseph no podía ser capitán, él era el siguiente a ser capitán. Yo tenía una meta con él, y eso era jugar fútbol profesional, y algún día encontrarnos en nuestra carrera. Yo les quiero dar esta banda de capitán, porque él para mí siempre fue un capitán. Él fue la única persona en que yo vi con un futuro en el fútbol. El talento se le salía en los pasos que él tomaba. Esta banda de capitán define lo que es Alton.
Okay, so deja yo lo digo en inglés, okay? What was just read to the parents is actually a message from Julio Antilosi, who is one of the captains, and it reads, Alton always wanted to be a captain, and he would have 100% been a great captain. Every time Joseph couldn't be there to be the captain, Alton was the first one to be selected to be captain. Him and I had a goal to play professional soccer one day. I would like to give this to Alton's family. It is a captain band. Because for me, he was always a captain. He was the only player I saw who had a future as a professional soccer player. He showed his talent on the field. This captain band represents who Alton was.
So at this time, I would like to present the Defensive Player of the Year award to the family.
Y ahorita le gustaría a él presentarle a ustedes, la familia, el reconocimiento de jugador defensivo del año de la Conferencia Atlética del Sureste. Entonces lo pueden recibir.
Good evening. May I add my condolences to his family. Making the grade, Hope County Schools. Alton Sebastian Trido Martinez, Sand Hills Athletic Conference Defense Player of the Year. Hope County High School, presented by the Hope County Board of Education, November 9, 2021. I'd like to present this to you in May of memories. Keep you safe.
Dice que buenas tardes. Este es otro reconocimiento que le gustaría dar a ustedes como el mejor jugador de fútbol que ellos han tenido y se lo otorga el día de hoy y también le quiere dar sus condolencias. ¿Está bien si le pueden tomar una fotografía? Can the sister be included?
I'm sorry.
One, two, three. You want to take your mask down just real quick?
¿Se puede quitar la máscara para que le tomen la foto?
Ready? One, two, three.
Our third spotlight on success this evening is the artwork that's displayed at the Board of Education. This month's display is provided by Charlie Alternative School. And Madam Chair and members, that concludes our spotlight on success for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Dallas. Next on the agenda, Roman report is, May 6th, is public comments. I yield to our attorney, Murchison.
Thank you. We have 3 people who have signed up for public comment. We'll take them from the top. Each person will get 3 minutes, and I'll leave your time to serve. So we'll start with Mr. Angel Robles.
I go up here?
Yes. Whenever you're ready.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a teacher at Polk High School, and I wanted to bring attention to overuse of teachers concerning planning periods. I know some teachers, some of my colleagues who work 3 weeks straight lost their planning periods, and they're not feeling very good about that. They're losing a lot of their creativity. I believe one of the ways to offset that would be to pay them for that planning period coverage. There's always someone saying you can't find the money for it. Well, if substitutes aren't being paid, the money can be taken from that. And I suggest you could at least start at least $38 for the planning period coverage. There are at least 10 school districts that have given all staff retention bonuses in the last 6 weeks, including $5,000 bonuses for all full-time staff in Randolph and $3,000 each in Alamance and Burlington. This is in North Carolina. 10 districts have offered permanent raises, and another 5 are now paying educators extra when they have to cover for substitutes. And in a state not too far away, teachers in Norfolk will soon be getting extra days off, as well as uninterrupted planning days and an additional pay for substituting in another teacher's classroom during planning periods. So I hope you'll keep this uppermost in your mind. Our teachers feel undervalued, overworked, and underpaid, and underappreciated. So I hope you'll listen to what I have to say in this regard, and that's all I have to say.
Our next speaker is Mr. Ken Gregory.
Good evening, board. I've talked to the commissioners. I've been in this area since 1982. My boys grew up, went to school all the way through high school. Well, not all the way through high school. We started homeschooling when they hit a freshman. In 2000, the county needed a new high school. 16-year land use study. I remember that being done because the county attorney come to the fire department where I was volunteering and explained on which side of the county was going to be more growth than the other. Okay, just write these questions down and you can answer them. How many of these board members have ever reviewed this document, the land use? With this document, the review and to see which part of the county is fast growing. This document is to be used for forecasting of the growth. The county needs to be proactive, not reactive. The Board of Education and the commissioners need to work together in conjunction with the growth to work to be proactive, not reactive. We get a place for the students and swim team to go, but there's a place together for a good education and a modern atmospheric facility. You've got the middle schools, and you've got the elementary schools. Skurlock and the high school right now are the two oldest schools. So I'm asking the educators to use, of the school board and the staff, to use a solving problem, and is for the, and is not just for the paychecks. Does anyone know how to forecast, use the documents, and the superintendent really doing their job? We need to go to the board to see and the needs of the county instead of the personnel needs. Which one of the board members here, of the staff, send their children to a private school? That's my questions. Can I get some answers, please?
Mr. Gregory, this is time for you to address the board. There aren't answers. The board doesn't respond to your comments, but thank you.
Okay.
And our next and final speaker is Ms. Erlyn Harper.
Good evening, Madam Timekeeper. In keeping with Robert's rules, I am going to request a time extension of possibly 2 additional minutes because I am addressing several different topics. If there is no objection to that, I will proceed.
The board would need to vote to amend their procedure. Their procedure is that every speaker gets 3 minutes.
I will rush then. My first topic, I am from the Rockfish Chamber of Commerce, and this year we are assisting with your canned food drive, and we have placed an additional 12 boxes throughout the county, and thus far we are having fair success with the assistance. That is the first topic. The second topic is the Backpack Buddy program. The Rockfish Chamber has, for the past 5 years, we adopted Rockfish Hook Elementary School, and we fund and provide the Backpack Buddy program. And I hope you're all familiar with it, with the Backpack Buddy program, where children who've been identified as having hunger issues, we provide meals on the weekend. I recently received a post through your Facebook page inquiring about the Backpack Buddy program for middle schools. And what I found out is that there is not a Backpack Buddy program for middle schools. So what I did, I located an organization that would be willing to take that on. And so I will be identifying the middle school that requested that information and assist and facilitate the development of the program for that school that is currently in need. My third topic is the fast development, likely the overdevelopment of the county. And I know Ms. McAllister McRae was at one of the meetings where it first was addressed. And we were assured that the school would be, that the commissioners would request the schools for an updated impact study. And I later found out that they did not do that. They used your needs study that does not, and your needs study does not address many of the impact areas that we were questioning. So with that, we will be formally asking and explaining our need for an impact study to, although they did pass, they passed the rezoning, and that we are concerned about is R8, which would allow true overdevelopment, and it is, and I'm sure I'm close. And so with that, I thank you for your time. And you will be hearing from me in the future.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is our consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda items 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved to approve the consent agenda that consists of items 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it's been seconded. Are there any questions? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda has been approved. Next on the agenda is action items. I yield to the superintendent.
Good evening, and thank you, Madam Chair and members. This evening, we have 3 action items. Action item 1 is a review of our district face mask policy. As you remember, under Senate Bill 654, a public school unit shall vote on their face covering policy at least once a month to determine whether it should be modified. At our July 29th Board of Education meeting, we voted that face coverings would be required inside of all buildings and on all school transportation for all students and staff, pre-K through 12, regardless of vaccination status. Face coverings are not required when outdoors and are recommended when in crowded outdoor settings. At our September and October Board of Education meetings, we voted to maintain our current face covering policy, the policy we have since the beginning of the year. Our numbers in Hope County continue to head in the right direction, and we did see a decline in the number of positive cases in the school district last week. In addition, our current local metrics do show a 7-day percent positivity of 5.36%, which is down from last month's Board of Education meeting when we were at 8.41%. Our county transmission rate is now identified as substantial, which is an improvement from the rating of high last month when we met. With a county transmission rate identification of substantial, the CDC's recommendation is that everyone should still wear a mask inside public settings. Given that our school population is largely not yet vaccinated, face coverings remain a critical tool for protecting children and keeping them safely in our classrooms. North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services guidance recommends that schools continue to implement a universal face covering requirement if they are located in a county with high or substantial community transmission level, which we are one of those. Although we are very optimistic that we are heading in the right direction, we still consider face coverings to be one of our most important mitigation strategies that can be implemented in our schools to continue to reduce the spread of COVID-19. So at this time, does anyone have any comments or want to make any modifications to our current policy? Okay, so if there are no modifications suggested at this time, based on the recommendations of the CDC and the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, I am asking for approval to continue our current face covering policy.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the Hope County Schools face covering policy.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the whole county school face covering policy. I have a second. Are there any questions? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. The face covering policy has been approved to maintain.
Thank you. So action item number 2 is the calendar change of November 12th to a non-instructional day for students and a workday wellness day for staff for the traditional and early college calendars. Let me ask Dr. Chad Hunt, our Assistant Superintendent, to summarize the changes and the resources that will be available for our staff. After he shares, we will answer any questions and then ask for your approval.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. So far, the 2021-2022 instructional year has been a time of challenges and adaptations due to returning to a traditional year. Traditional in the sense that we are back at full capacity on buses and in the classroom. I do want to inform you that our staff members have been resilient throughout the past 11 weeks during this time of welcoming all of our students back on campus. At this time, we are proposing that November 12th, 2021 be a reflection and wellness day for the Hope County School students, teachers, and staff. This would be a non-instructional day for students. It would be a remote teacher work day for staff members. During this time, staff members would be able to reflect on the school year, current and previous practices, as well as plan for the upcoming weeks. We are also encouraging everyone to explore the provided resources on the day of reflection and wellness. This calendar change will still meet the requirements as set in the general statute. Staff members will still have 10 annual vacation leave days, the same or equivalent number of holidays, as well as meet the requirement of teacher work days. This calendar change will also meet the required 1,025 instructional hours for students. In our calendar, we'll have an estimated 1,062 hours, which is over 1,025 hours required. So at this time, we would like to propose that the November 12th be changed to the Reflection and Wellness Day for the Hope County School students, teachers, and staff.
Okay, so are there any questions?
Can you define that wellness day for me again?
Sure. So it would be a non-instructional day for students.
Right.
It would be basically a remote teacher work day or a remote work day for staff members. And during this time, staff members would be able to reflect on the school year.
Okay.
Their current practices and previous practices that have taken place during the school year, as well as plan for the upcoming weeks for the rest of the semester, as well as try to plan up to plan instruction for up to the Christmas break.
All right.
Any other questions?
So at this time, we're asking the Board of Education for approval of the traditional and early college calendar change for November 12th as a non-instructional day and workday wellness day for all of our staff.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of the superintendent. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the superintendent's request for the November 12th non-instructional day and remote work day for our students and staff.
Thank you, Ms. Pickett.
A second.
Thank you, Ms. Delamena. It has been moved and seconded to recognize November the 12th as a non-instructional day and remote work day for staff as a wellness day. Are there any questions about that? All in favor? All opposed? That day has been approved. Thank you so much, Dr. Down.
Thank you, Dr. Hunt. Action item 3 is our Mako Hope County Schools COVID-19 testing program. At this time, I'll ask Dr. Peggy Owens to share information related to the COVID-19 testing plan.
Madam Chair, Madam Superintendent, and members of the board, just as an information or an update, you have this information before you as it relates to the school testing program. And so tonight we're providing you a timeline in terms of the work that we've done for the school testing program. As you know, we shared with you earlier that there will be 2 types of testing that's available to us. That's diagnostic testing, routine testing, which is the preventative testing, which will get us ahead of the game. And then the diagnostic testing, which if students or staff are symptomatic, so they are exhibiting symptoms. And so we initially plan to start with the routine testing, and then after that, we'll move to the diagnostic testing. So currently, again, you see the timeline, and so we're hoping to kick off January 2022 with our testing program. Are there any questions?
Okay, so if there are no questions at this time, we are asking the board to approve our Mako Hope County Schools COVID-19 testing program.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the recommendation of the superintendent.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to accept the recommendation of the superintendent. Are there any questions? All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. The COVID-19 testing program has been.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, that does conclude our action items for this evening.
Next on the agenda are the administration items, information items. I yield to the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this evening we have 4 information items. Information item A is an update on COVID-19 and our mitigation strategies for winter athletics. Let me ask Dr. Peggy Owens, our Executive Director of Student Support Services, and Mr. Gary Brigman, our Hope County Schools Athletic Director, to speak to those items, please.
So we're going to just share a few updates with you. Dr. Dallas has done a really good job, so I won't have to talk about positivity rate and where we are in terms of we're still substantial. But I will say that the numbers are moving in the right direction, not only here in Hope County, but across the state and the nation. So we are excited about that. The data that you have before you tonight is reflective of November the 3rd, when in terms of the last 7 days. So what you see for Hope County is that we had at that time total from December the 14th, 2020, that there was 7,172 cases. Within the last 14 days of that time period, there was 196 persons who had tested positive in terms of cases. We had a total of 83 deaths, and moving to, in terms of vaccination, that we had those persons, 34% of the residents had 1 dose of the vaccine, and then fully vaccinated was 31% of our residents in Hope County. So we are moving in the right direction. So we say that with a smile, okay? And this, just for your information, we will not open that, but at your leisure, you can have an opportunity to open that document. That goes straight to NCDHSS when you can review that at your leisure. Yes, Ms.
I have a question. Fully vaccinated, does that include the booster shot, or is that the first 2 shots?
No, that's the first 2. That does not include the booster. And currently, we don't have the data on the booster. I want to say almost, it's close to about 3 weeks ago, but the vaccine is there, and we shared that information with the employees after talking to Ms. Edwards at the health department. So we are actively giving the boosters, and the boosters are available. Yes. The dashboard, Ms. Mounds, we just want to open that quickly. Dr. Dallas did reference, when you looked at the dashboard this past week, you can see that our numbers are going down. So here within the school system, so we are excited about that in terms of the number of cases. When you look at that compared to the past previous week. So at the end of last week, we only had a total of 7 positive cases reported total. And then next, what's on the horizon? heard so much about vaccination for children ages 5 through 11, and we are certainly excited about that. This afternoon, we were in a meeting with Ms. Edwards and her staff. So we're in the planning stage for vaccination. We hope to be able to roll that out next week. What that will look like as we're planning that they will come in to our schools, we will start with the elementary schools first. So we have some additional legwork to do. We also want to get information out to parents so that they'll know that that's available, and we have to work with our school principals. We are hoping to be able to do some vaccination perhaps during the school day, based on the schedule. We don't want to take away instructional time or right at the end of the school day. But because of the age group, parents must be present, and there is a consent form that parents must sign. So, we want to be able to work with our parents and if they wanted to get them there so that their child can be vaccinated if they wish for that to occur. So but we're very excited about it. And there will be a clinic this Saturday. The health department held a clinic last Saturday, and they'll hold another one this Saturday to vaccinate ages 5 through 11.
So is the clinic, information and vaccination, or is it just, we'll do a workshop or something and then?
In terms of the vaccination clinics that will be held at the school?
No, in terms of the one that's gonna be held Saturday at the.
No, there's not a workshop. We announced that and we shared that with the schools, and so they're doing the same thing. They have offered to assist us with PR efforts and as well as incentives as we move into the schools. I think one of the pluses for us when we started this past summer with the pilot is actually having those vaccination clinics at the school site. That parents really did appreciate that. So I think that's going to be a plus for us. Other questions?
Thank you, Dr.
I'm glad to hear that our numbers are getting better. As we are transitioning from the fall to the winter, it's always kind of scary when you are in a pandemic like we have been in the last year and a half. Last year was a very strict year as far as how we were going to handle, because basketball was the first sport, if you can remember, was the first sport that we actually tried to do, volleyball and basketball. So we worked really, really hard. So we took some of the ideas that we did last year and modified them a little bit. Spectators, again, are to wear a mask. We expect that, similar to what we did in volleyball this year. We're not going to change unless it comes from the state that we can do that. Hook High is it's a small gym, and sitting down, it's probably the toughest thing I had to come up with is figure out how many people we can allow in there. Right now, I'm thinking about 400 people. And then Dr. Dallas and Dr. Benson and I talked a little bit. I said, we're going to start with that and kind of get an eye for it. And we may take it up, we may take it down, but with our ticket portal, we can pretty much control and see exactly how many people we can get in there. We definitely don't want everybody sitting on top of everyone, obviously, but that's a big concern. Basketball players will wear masks, just like last year. Officials will wear a mask. Home team, little things that we talked about, we will provide water for the visitors, but they need to bring their own bottles. Locker rooms was a big thing last year, but we got to open up our locker rooms for our visitors, and that's because simple reason, the nature of the sport, very sweaty type sport, especially if you come out of McDonald's gym, and you know how hot it gets in there, all right, Ms. Biggett?
Oh, yeah.
Just want to make sure if you. So the host team is,
we're gonna do everything possibly to protect our visitors. And there's some things that I have to look at, Dr. Benson and I have to look at exactly how we're going to keep them from, not being around our fans. Most venues have their basketball players on the floor. Ours, we got to sit at the first row of the bleachers. So we got to figure out some things there, but it will happen. Talk a little bit about cheerleaders. Cheerleaders won't travel. Our home cheerleaders will stay at home. They still have to cheer with masks. Swim team, we talked about that if a swimmer is going to the starting block, he must wear his mask to the starting block. And then right before he enters the water or gets ready to go, he'll take his mask off, sit next starting block, he'll swim his meet, come out, put it back on. That's what we did last year. And all timers, we use a lot of timers that are parents. Obviously, they got to follow the same guidelines. Bowlers, we are bowling in 2 facilities this year, one in Sand Hills and one in Scotland. And so therefore, they got different guidelines also. We are adhering to those. Same thing, our bowlers have to wear a mask while they bowl, as well as all their spectators. So what we're trying to say is that when we send our bowlers to a facility like that, just know that they're doing everything possible to protect them and everything. So wrestlers is still a booger. I'm not real sure, but we checked a lot with the wrestling folks. If you remember, you probably don't remember last year, wrestling was the last thing that we did at the end of the year. It was actually wrestling in June. And so therefore, one of the things that we did do is that the wrestlers did not wear a mask. And you just got to know the sport that it's not very good to wear a mask and wear headgear and all the above. It's just not good. So again, the wrestlers would do similar to what the swimmers would do. They would go out with a mask, have a mask on the bench, and then before the match, they will take it off until someone, we talked about that, but our conference, and you got to understand our conference is 5 LEAs, and they all got something a little bit different, and we're trying to make everything work with 5 LEAs. That's probably a tough task right there. We're still talking about, we're still doing the same thing on our buses. We wear a mask on the trips and try to take a roll or either some seating chart or a picture of where everybody's sitting in case somebody should happen to come down with COVID. We can isolate them, do some contact tracing. And so that's pretty much our winter season. It's the indoor track. Well, it's not indoors, it's outdoors. So we follow the outdoor policy, which is pretty easy. But please ask, if there's something bearing on you that somebody has asked you, please ask right now, and I can try to help you understand. We're gonna try to make it work again. It's gonna be a long year because we start the Monday before Thanksgiving. We've got 2 home games, Ms. Pickett. Do I need to hold your spot?
Please do.
So we're gonna try to do the best we can with our numbers and see how that's what's really big in Hope County. And so therefore, we're gonna have some excitement, people coming back out and watch us play. I understand we already have a pretty decent little team, and so I'm excited about it. Play 71st to Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and so that's gonna be a big ball. And so we'll see how it goes.
Mr. Cookman, how did we do last year with the wrestlers? Did anybody come?
It's amazing. We had no issues whatsoever. We had no team that came down with COVID. We had no one to report, and that's just in our conference, but it's across Cumberland County and some of the other counties, and because I spoke to them, it just won't there. And then, I was thinking, man, we might be over this stuff, but we really aren't, but for the most part. And then this fall, we have a few instances with football teams. And I don't think they did a very good job as far as contract tracing and stuff like that, as we do here.
They were real quick, the health departments in some of the areas were real quick to shut the teams down. But, yeah, either of my coaches are doing what we're supposed to do. I like to think that too, but I don't know. Just try. Just try. Anything else? You good?
Good, we're ready for winter athletics.
It's upon us, and everything. We did have, I was really excited about the way our fall ended up. You know, we had the soccer team went to the playoffs, and our football team made the playoffs, and they represented us well. So showed that we are making a turn. You know, at the East-West game Saturday, Wednesday, and it was really nice, and everybody showed up for that. We took the kids in and let them meet the coaches and the players. So I'm excited about the future, what it brings. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Berger.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Information item B is information regarding our preliminary dropout data. So we're going to ask Dr. Peggy Owens, once again, our Executive Director of Student Support, to share some of that data.
Okay, so we're not gonna talk about COVID right now. Okay, we're excited to share on other programs. But as you know, this is preliminary data that we wanted to share with you in terms of our dropout report. Next one, please. And so our priority is in our new strategic plan, and priority number one, to ensure that every student is challenged, engaged, while providing multiple pathways for student success by broadening opportunities, building support systems, and eliminating barriers. So student success. I'm not going to read all of this at just a moment, but this is how a dropout is defined by the state board. And these are additional bullets. One of the ones to point out is a student was not enrolled in school on the 20th day of the new school year. So one of the things that we do if those students have dropped out, that we do try and get them back before day 20th of the new school year. And these are some additional bullets. Now, the good news that we want to share in terms of this preliminary data. So if we look at our total number of dropouts for the county that we have reported to the state, we're only reported 19 this year. So we are so excited about that. Last year it was 34. And when we look at Polk County High School, so that gives us a rate of 1.01%, and for the school system, that's 82/10%. So we are really excited about the work that has occurred and continue to occur as it relates to our dropout. But do we still have work to do? Because that's too many. Okay, I always say that's too many. We're looking good, but that's too many. So we had a total of 6 females and 13 males. And again, when we talk about equity, we know that we have to work still with our minorities. We can look at our American Indian, our African Americans. We've seen a decrease, but we have seen an increase in our Caucasian population as well as our Hispanic population. So we know regardless if we celebrate with that 19, that's not enough. I always say to the staff, 0 is the number that we're looking for here in Hope County Schools. And the reason for a dropout, we had 7 for community college, 2 for attendance. And so that's different for us because that's a decrease. Lack of engagement in terms of those students being motivated or interested in school. And then the employment piece here, employment necessary is 2, and then choice of work over school. So when you total those together, that's 4. And that's interesting because we usually don't have that. That usually represents 0. And then, of course, we had 1 to run away and then 2 to move.
Dr. Owens, may I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, whenever you say community college, 7, what do you mean there?
Okay, so, we've had this discussion over the years. And, unfortunately, those students, they drop out to attend the community college system. Several years ago, the state, actually General Assembly voted a law where we could count those students in community college if we, when I say if we kept up with them or followed up with them. Well, what we found out that was problematic because even with the students, it doesn't mean because they are here, they dropped out of Polk County schools, that they went to community college, let's say at Sand Hills Community College. They could have gone to community college in another county, so we were not able to track those students. But that's what that means, that they said they dropped out. The reason was to attend a community college. But we've never been able to count those students when they actually enroll in the community college.
But you're gonna make me ask you another question.
Okay.
Why with a community college, we got in the 9th grade, say 6, 10th grade, 6, 11th grade, 6, 12th grade, 1. What does the community college have to offer a 9th grader? Or 10th grade?
Well, GED program.
Okay, what age group, to begin that, what age group do you have to be?
16, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, 16.
But you have to be 15?
16.
You're in 9th grade, how old are you?
14.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, it was a question, because I was wondering, I said, well, these students 9th, 10th, and 11th grade,
And I did
why
not,
they go into a community college?
I
you
did
know.
not, Ms. Pickett, I can't go back in
Okay,
and share.
I don't want to
the
put you on the spot, I just asked the question.
Yes, ma'am, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
I normally, when we do the big report, I'll break it down by ages so that you could see. But most of the time, the students that we have in the 9th grade, and I can go pull it up, those children are usually over age. They don't usually follow the pattern, like if you say you're 14 or 15 years old, most of those students are repeaters. They are usually 16, 17, 18-year-old students. And so they have not earned the credits that they need to move on.
Okay.
And I apologize that I didn't break that down, but since we were just presenting preliminary, but I can have that for you.
No, that's
the
fine,
next time.
I can see what you're saying there, if they're over age, they may rather go there than
Yes,
to be
ma'am.
like
That's
without
right.
the younger students.
That's right.
Okay.
And then they don't have
Yeah.
enough credits either, so.
Dr. Owens.
Yes, ma'am.
So like if, I think 2% was like moved, so if they moved to New York, that means a whole nother school system. We can't count them because they're not in North Carolina.
Well, if we can verify that they're enrolled in another school system, whether, even if they're out of state, then we do not count them as a dropout. But if we can't verify it, then we're not able to count.
What do we normally do? Do we normally try to follow up?
Yes, ma'am, we do, yeah, yeah, we do, and the team does a great job with that, yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do, yes, ma'am. In fact, everybody was very pleased because most of the numbers, this represents, the, virtual, what we're seeing now in terms of students online. So what we know is that they did engage, in the remote learning, so, yes. So that also tells us there's another option when we look at remote learning and virtual, that that's good for some of our students.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we already, that's the question.
No, you all do a great job, you do a great job, I tell you, keeping up with them, and especially during this time here, and encouraging them to stay in school.
Yes.
And see the improvement that was made this year with it, last year.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Here, information C, item C is an update on our 2021 graduation rate data. I asked Dr. Chad Hunt, our Assistant Superintendent of Operations and Information Systems, to please share that data.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
So on the handout that was posted into Assembly, there are 2 pages there. The first page displays the Hope County Schools graduation rates by school and district, as well as a comparison to North Carolina as a whole. Page 2 provides a 5-year comparison of historical data to our benchmark districts. Benchmark districts meaning that those districts are similar to our demographics or student populations. So just a quick highlight or breakdown of this first page is that across the 5 years of data, as a district, we've experienced a 3.8 percentage point change. So in other words, from 2016-17 up until 2020-21, from 78.8 to 82.6, we had a change of 3.8. We increased 3.8 percentage points. During the year of 2019-20, that's the first year that we encountered the pandemic. And we were kind of, I guess you would say, blessed with that, with the hindsight being that during that spring semester, DPI held grades or held students harmless for their grades. So with that, students were able to earn credits that during that semester, in which time some students may have started off at that time period with failing grades, but by the end of the semester, they were able to earn a passing grade via the state policy. So with that, that kind of helped a little bit in 2019-20, which carried over into the summer as well, which basically said that as long as students completed courses by the end of June 30th, 2020, they were also held harmless for those summer courses. And that also helped with the graduation rate. Going into 2020, 2021, we did have some students who still had that mindset of, I'm basically going to be giving a grade for that first semester or even for that entire year. But by the time that we got to the end of that first semester or even the first 9 weeks, students were starting to see that they were actually earning their grades instead of grades being given to them. So we had a decrease. But to go along with that, DPI had an understanding, or they had the communication with different LEAs or with all of our LEAs, and understood that students needed some time to readjust. And so what they did was they increased the accountability year from June 30th, 2021 to the end of July 2021. So that provided us as a district extra time to go in and provide remediation resources for students who were falling behind or needed 1 or 2 classes to graduate, so we were able to offer summer classes to those students. So with that being said, even though it was a trial and error time frame, and also keep in mind too that during that entire year, we were not in a traditional setting. We were still on the rotation days of A day, B day, and still had some students who were participating remotely as well. And that took place throughout the entire year, especially for the high school, secondary school. So in that manner, yes, we dipped down 5 percentage points, but it was not over 5 percentage points. So that in itself is actually really a celebration. But also too, I'd like to point out that for 4 consecutive years, so from 2017-18 up until 2020-21, we've also maintained above an 80% graduation rate as a district. But like I said, over on page 2, that is just a comparison of how we did compared to our benchmark districts across those 5 years. And these are not in order by graduation rate, they are in alphabetical order by LEA names. And Hope County Schools is highlighted there in the green. But also to go along with this data at your individual stations, you also have a packet for your individual viewing as it relates to the Hope County Schools subgroup data for graduation rates as well. So at this time, are there any questions about the graduation rate?
What are we doing about the American Indian graduation rate? How are we, it's 67.9%, that is not good.
Yes, ma'am.
What are we doing to get that up?
So we've also we were just meeting on that last night, in the education department with the advisory council with parents and students. So we still have those processes in place to offer tutoring to help identify students that are in need. To go along with that, reviewing those transcripts and having our equity meetings to identify those subgroups And whenever we do that, not only are we breaking it down by subgroups, but we're also going in and looking at individual students. So as an example, what I mean by that is we have this whole pivot table to identify students who are failing 1 class or 2 classes during the semester or during the 9 weeks. And whenever we get to identify those students, then we can look at the students by name and identify the courses that they're struggling in, so that way we can reach out to those teachers, or we can reach out to intervention specialists or whatnot at the schools, and be able to go in and offer those remediations that we need for all of our students.
You know, Della, that to me, actually, you know, graduation rate really starts with the work in middle school, you know, is getting kids on track so that when they go to high school, they're prepared for high school. So I think some of the work we've done in the middle schools with the dropout prevention person in each class, in each building, we have an interventionist in each building, is we need our students to go into 9th grade ready, you know, to take on high school courses. So I look at it as the work starts in middle school. But I think at the high school, like we said, we do have our dropout prevention people. Last night, Dr. Register shared with our parent advisory group some of the academic courses and programs that we've been using to try to accelerate some of the learning loss that we've experienced. Dr. Register, do you want to add anything as far as kind of specific?
Yeah, and I'm gonna go back to what Dr. Hunt has said. So once we really look at, because we go in and look at by subject data, we will inform, or I will send an email to Dr. Jones, to Tony Hunt, to Brandon Locklear, to Mr. Nelson James, or James Nelson there, and with specific names to say, please make sure that we're supporting these students. And so I can say that our Native American students, they're highlighted on our list, because we realize that they have, along the way, they're, have less credits in some cases, because we're looking at those students who fail, like you said, 2 or more classes, or who are not meeting the benchmark in order to be promoted to the next grade. So we are identifying those students.
A big job for our kids. It starts at home too with the parents, and it's just sad to say a lot of parents don't support their kids.
Any other questions around graduation rate?
You're also doing an excellent job. I don't have any questions. You're doing an excellent job, and you see where the needs are, and you're right there. You're on spot. You're doing what you can to help to bring those grades up, and that's good. So just thank you for what you're doing and what you will continue to do to help all the students.
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Register, I'm sorry, I know I'm late. What do we have in place to help these students? I know we have like summer school and things like that, but we see a Native American student, we targeted, we got the name, the address and everything. We know that this guy is not doing, this young man is not doing well in algebra. You know, at that point, you know, what do we do to support that?
One thing we have, in let's say for academics, we do have tutoring.
Okay.
After school tutoring for our students, you know, that, and we provide transportation.
Okay.
So that's one. For behavior, we have, I know the high school has started even last year mentoring programs. They have identified students and still are identifying students to have a mentor. They're actually training teachers to be mentors, and they're actually hand selecting students.
Okay.
So that's one thing. And then of course, like I said, we have the dropout. And so some of the resources we have is Everify. That's one that deals with social emotional learning. I know out of Dr. Owen's office, we have we have employed more counselors and social workers to support in that behavior. Because you'll be surprised, a lot of times what we're seeing now is more of the behavior that's impeding
the academics.
Okay.
So once we can support them with behavior, we do have things in place for academics. And then, of course, our Evening Academy,
Yes,
Apex Learning.
yeah.
I mean, so we do have a plethora of
Yeah.
programs to support.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hunt.
Thank you. And information item D is our monthly financial report. At this time, if you have any questions, we'll direct them to our Chief Finance Officer, Ms. Juanette Chavis.
Follow?
Okay, so Madam Chair, members, that does conclude our information items for this evening.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is closed session. I need a motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we go into closed session, the following reason. The board enter into closed session under NC General Statute 143-318.11 to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel matters, to consider matters relating to initial employment of individual employees, and to consult with the attorneys, and to consult with the board's attorney to preserve the attorney-client privilege.
Thank you. I need a second.
Second.
I have a motion to go into closed session for all stated reasons. Ms. Pickett said, do we have, and I have a second, do we have any questions about that? All in favor? All opposed? We'll take a 7-minute break. We'll go to closed session. 7 minutes. 7 minutes. 7:58.
Our next one,